All right, on behalf of Ascot Financial Advisors, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present to you here at Titan Consolidated and talk about ways that we can maximize value for your shareholders. My name is Anthony Manna.
I'm Brian Merrill.
Richard Price.
David Alvarez.
Jeff Fudd.
In the back of all the presentations we handed out to you, you'll see some business cards with our names on them as well. We'd also like to let you know that we do recognize the importance of making the right selection for your organization and that this project is a top priority for our firm, and we look forward to working with you. So just to preface this slide, we are going to go into much more detail on the analyses throughout the presentation, but here we're just going to summarize what we're going to tell you in the presentation and what our recommendation is. So we recognize that you have two scenarios that your subsidiary firm Jupiter is looking at. One is you received an unsolicited offer from Charger Capital for a cash-free, debt-free purchase of your subsidiary Jupiter for $560 million. After our analysis, we believe that that offer represents a for sure $60 to $100 million premium over the fair value of Jupiter. On top of that, you would have close to $100 million in cash left on the balance sheet that you'd be able to take out with you after the sale. Secondly, we know that Jupiter is looking at acquiring a bolt-on target of a firm called Lightning. Lightning is requesting $192 million for the purchase of their firm. We believe at that price, we can realize a net $80 to $95 million in potential synergies. We came to that number from looking at around $130 million in gross potential synergies, and then taking out $35 to $50 million that we believe would be a premium at the $192 million price over what we believe the fair value of Lightning to be. So as you can see, the potential value for both transactions is fairly similar. However, we believe that the Charger Capital deal offers a lot more certainty than the Lightning deal. There's a little bit more risk because you would be having to potentially realize the synergies over the course of time. As a result of that, we suggest pursuing a sale to Charger, however, at the same time, continuing to negotiate with Lightning in case things don't work out with Charger. And please feel free, by the way, throughout this presentation to stop us at any time for some questions. With that, I'm going to go into an explanation of our valuation of Jupiter. We believe that the fair enterprise value of Jupiter is $460 to $500 million. We came to that conclusion with a number of different analyses, including a discounted cash flow analysis. We looked at publicly traded comparable companies to see what multiples they're trading at. We looked at recent transactions in the industry for similar companies to see what multiples they were purchased at. And we also conducted a leveraged buyout analysis to see if this would be an appealing acquisition for a purely financial buyer. As you can see on the graph, the LBO valuation is a bit lower than the rest because we believe that the profile of Jupiter's cash flows makes them a little bit less appealing to a purely financial buyer than a strategic buyer. As you can see, our fair value range is between an 8.25 to 9 times multiple of Jupiter's estimated 2016 EBITDA. However, the offer that Charger Capital offered of $560 million would be a 10-time multiple of Jupiter's 2016 estimated EBITDA. The reason they were able to offer that premium over what we believe the fair value is because one of their portfolio companies is synergistic with Jupiter, resulting in that $60 to $100 million premium number. I'd like you to take note of that green arrow representing the $60 to $100 million premium because we will be coming back to that later in the presentation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague David, who's going to talk to you about our valuation of Lightning.
Thank you, Anthony. Because Jupiter's management is also currently considering the acquisition of a bolt-on target, Lightning in this case, we value this company as well. We believe, based on the information that we had available today, that the enterprise value of Lightning is between $140 to $155 million as a standalone company. The range of these figures is based on the same valuation techniques that we use to value Jupiter. Therefore, the $192 million price that Jupiter is being asked to pay for the acquisition of Lightning is significantly higher by a premium of between 35 to $50 million than our estimated value. This premium price of 35 to $50 million is indicated in the red arrow, and we are going to come back to that number in a bit. Also, I would like to point out that the $192 million represents a multiple of 11 times forward 2017 EBITDA, but that's also representing a multiple of 11.4, so higher, current 2016 EBITDA. Now, the acquisition of lining by Jupiter can result in significant synergies that come in three buckets. Number one, we value revenue synergies at approximately $33 million in terms of revenue enhancement. Number two, $48 million that can be realized through margin matching. And number three, $50 million that can be realized through overhead reductions. As a result, we value this synergy at roughly $131 million.
When are we realizing these synergies? Year 1, year 5, year 2?
So the way we layered it in, we don't realize the synergies immediately. So the first year you recognize 25% of the synergies, second year 75% of the synergies, and then going forward it's 100%. So it's a build-in over 3 years.
That's a cumulative number, or that's the number at the end of 3 years?
That's
annually.
This is a cumulative number over the course with a terminal value into the future.
Okay.
And are those net numbers? So considering severance and any other breakage costs?
Yes, they are.
Yes.
And these are
Sorry.
P&L, these are all P&L based, not as a multiple of EBITDA. This is actual what our P&L would realize.
Yes. And we actually use different discount rates associated with each of these. We think the revenue synergies are more risky, so we use a 14% discount rate and a 12% discount rate assigned with the margin matching and overhead reduction synergies.
And why did you pick those rates?
So the 10% rate stated in the case, we think that was accurate for your business, Jupiter, but we have more uncertainty surrounding these cash flows, given that we have not managed this business before, and the market uncertainty associated with the revenue enhancements, we think is greater than your ability to pull out costs from the business.
So how did you calculate that premium? Risk premium?
We just
12 and 14.
So the way that we kind of looked at it is if the normal cash flows are discounted at about 10%, we thought that it'd be approximately 40% more risky to realize the revenue synergies than the normal income and cash flow, getting that marginal 6% of revenue. So that's how we decided to use our revenue discount rate. And then looking at the margin matching and overhead reduction, we used 12 because, again, looking at the marginal risk, we thought it was approximately 20% more risky than the standard risk of the firm. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Brian. So, in summary, we value this synergy at roughly $131 million of gross synergy. However, at $192 million, the premium price of $30 to $50 million relative to the value of the business greatly offsets or reduces the value of these estimated synergies, resulting in a net potential value of $80 to $95 million for the combined entity. And now I would like my colleague Brian to talk about the risks that we have identified associated with these alternatives.
Just a quick question on the revenue synergies. So when you built those in, did you factor in the fact that there will be cost associated with the incremental revenue? So you're not going to get, 100 cents on the dollar?
Yes, so we took the incremental revenue, ran it through at your margin levels, and then got the after-tax addition to EBITDA.
Correct. Yes.
And then just one more question on the overhead reduction, the $50 million. I'm just wondering what the bulk of that is. Like, if I look at the Lightning income statement, which is the target company, the total SG&A is only $15 million, like in total for the whole company. And so are we suggesting that there's another 35 million that we could extract from our own existing business unit?
So there's depreciation included that as well, which was stated by you guys in your email to us.
Okay.
And then we use the terminal value going forward. So we used sorry, the exact math, but we have more detail in the back. But as you said, the SG&A and the depreciation rate, and then we use a perpetual growth rate going into the future.
Okay.
And then we discounted it all back using our respective discount rates back to what the
To the
present
present
value is
value.
today.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So as Anthony and David said, we're really looking at two options here. The first option is to sell Jupiter to Charger and realize $60 to $100 million premium over today's fair value. Our second option is to acquire Lightning as a bolt-on and realize a potential of $80 to $95 million in synergies. So the upsides of both of these transactions are pretty similar for you as a board. However, they vary drastically in their different risks and the pros and cons associated with each. Looking at the Charger deal, the main pro is that the value is realized immediately today in an upfront cash transaction. You're right now getting that $60 to $100 million premium. Also, we have limited risk involved in this transaction, risk that's associated with every deal that goes through. Will Charger be able to secure the financing? Will we pass due diligence? And lastly, will we be able to get our lawyers together and draft a purchase agreement? Jeff is going to talk about a little later how we can mitigate these risks, but we do not see these really as a problem. Also, this is a fantastic environment for mergers and financing agreements to come together, and we have a very motivated buyer, so we think that the Charger deal has a lot of potential. Looking at the drawbacks of the Charger deal, the main drawback is you will no longer be involved in the operations of Jupiter. You're kind of wiping your hands clean of it and taking the cash for yourself. Also, you may be able to get a higher value from someone else, but we think that this is very unlikely since we have a motivated buyer and this is the right time to act. Looking at the Lightning deal, really the main positive is that you will be able to continue to run and operate the company and bring your family into the business. You also may be able to achieve more value from the synergies than initially anticipated. However, again, we feel that this is unlikely. Looking at the drawbacks from the Lightning transaction, this is where it really creates a lot of risk. There's a lot of risks involved in achieving these synergies. You have to be able to not only maintain your revenues, but increase them through cross-sale by 6%. You have to be able to reduce your margins down to what Lightning is at, and you have to be willing to cut those overhead costs, which is going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of grit, and presents considerable risk. At the same time, you're trying to integrate two separate companies together, integrate two cultures together into one, and that's hard. You're going to have to align your sales forces, align your administrative staffs, and work together as one comprehensive unit to go into the market to do your business. At the same time, you're leveraging your balance sheet, which is with additional debt, which is going to increase your risk as every time you take on debt, it increases risk, and it's going to constrain some of your flexibility over the next several years. Also, the potential value isn't realized right now. You have to earn those synergies over the next several years. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Richard to go over some alternatives to these two options.
Before you do, if I could just ask a question about Charger. We talked about risks kind of more so on our end, but I heard that, Charger, the last couple of their deals fell apart. Have you guys ever done deals with them? How often do they stick to their valuations? What's the risk on our side of, maximizing the certainty to close?
We've worked with them in the past a little bit, and they do have a great reputation historically. Obviously, as you mentioned, the past couple deals have not worked out in their favor, but we are confident in their group and their team over the history of their corporation, and are confident in their ability to close. The financing we do think is in place, but as we'll address later, we're going to ask for a financing commitment letter, or at the very least a highly confident letter, so that we know the financing would be in place for the deal to close.
And I have a question, and if you're going to get to it later, we can pause on this topic, but one of the things that intrigues us about the Lightning deals is that we think that in the future, this is going to make our business more attractive. So it's not just, to me, about the earnings that we're going to get from Lightning. It's the fact that when we go to sell as a bigger business, we're going to be more attractive. So how did you think about that potential in terms of this analysis?
So we thought about that as well, and we, based on the recent transactions and kind of how the public companies are trading in the market today, multiples are definitely higher than they were a couple years ago. So this would be a very attractive time to sell, which is one of the reasons that we took into consideration when we thought it was in your best interest to sell. Obviously, we're happy to work with you if you want to go in either direction. We're just, as your advisors, we think the most certainty surrounds the Charger transaction.
So while we've spoken mostly about the Charger and Lightning deals so far, there were several other alternatives that we considered. But in the end, we feel that none of these are as attractive as either the Charger or Lightning deals. First of all, you could simply maintain the status quo. However, by doing so, you're going to leave significant shareholder value on the table versus either the Lightning or Charger deals. Next, we'd be happy to help you shop around for a new financial buyer. However, it's important to keep in mind that Charger's offer already has synergies built into it. It'd be difficult for a financial buyer to price up and match their offer. Also, as we saw in the LBO value earlier, generally speaking with Jupiter, it's going to be more difficult for a pure financial buyer to match a strategic buyer's offer. So from there, we could search for a new strategic buyer. But again, Charger's built in synergies to their offer already, and we find it fairly unlikely that a new strategic buyer would be able to offer significant value above what Charger's already built in. So the key takeaway here is that we think really you have two birds in the hand. Both offers are viable. Pursuing any of these other options are going to take significant time, effort, and expense, and we can't say with certainty that you'd be able to achieve the same value. So we are recommending that you pursue the sale of Charger, but keep a dialogue open with Lightning as a stalking horse. So with that, I'll leave it to Jeff for our next steps.
Absolutely. Thanks, Richard. So just to reiterate what the team has been saying, we do think the best course of action is to pursue a deal with Charger. So what are our next steps? First, we think we should go back to Charger requesting a revised offer. Although we think their offer is more than fair, we think that given it was an unsolicited offer, we could get a little bit more money out of them. That, coupled with the fact that you are working on an acquisition of Lightning, we can allude to the fact that there are a lot of synergies and a lot of value that could be created through the acquisition that we are pursuing. The rest of these items kind of revolve around mitigating the risk that Brian had been talking about. As I mentioned, we should ask for a financing commitment letter, or at the very least, a highly confident letter. We should also discuss with them the specific due diligence that Charger would need to do on the business in order to complete the transaction, and the amount of time that they would need to take in order to complete the diligence. And lastly, we should provide a draft purchase agreement for them to provide comments on. At the same time, we think that we should be negotiating with Lightning, expressing interest in the deal, but also at a much lower price. If they balk at that idea, we can potentially throw out ideas of earn-outs if the synergies are fully realized, but we don't think that we should go in that direction if they are amiable to a lower purchase price. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Anthony to wrap up our presentation.
Thanks, Jeff. So I just want to summarize everything we said in the presentation. We did look at multiple alternatives for maximizing value for your shareholders, and we do think that the best two options are the ones that are at your fingertips right now, which is either a sale to Charger or an acquisition of Lightning. However, we distinctly recommend that pursuing a sale to Charger is a better option than acquiring Lightning. However, we'd be happy to work with you if you chose to go the other route and go towards Lightning. Either way, at the same time, we suggest continuing to negotiate with Lightning while pursuing the sale to Charger in case things don't work out. So with that, we thank you so much for your time, and we'd now like to open up the floor for any additional questions you might have.
On the valuation side, it sounds like when you evaluated the Charger offer, you used DCF and you used comps, right? Which one came close? Did you just average them, or which one do you feel is the more appropriate methodology?
So we thought, given where the markets are, and we thought the public comps and the precedent transactions were the most relevant to this valuation. The DCF implied growth rate was a little like close to 4.5%. So we thought, we took the DCF into account, but we weighted the valuation more towards the recent transactions and the public comps.
So in the DCF, when you did it, what was the growth rate on the top one? You said, was that 4.5%?
So the growth line on the top rate, what you provided to us, which was north of 5%, I believe it was 5.2, 5.3% projected in the future.
Yeah, and that, do you have any understanding of what our market share is and whether or not that's above market growth or not?
Certainly above market growth. I believe the market was going to grow, is looking to grow, or is expected to grow at 4%, 4.5%.
So we're taking share. Okay, so the DCF, I understand that you feel that maybe it was a little bit high growth rate. On the comp side, I mean, I looked at the range, and you got it tight maybe in some of the diversified advertising and marketing consulting, but there is a range. Which ones were the most appropriate comps, do you think?
So we actually chose the ones in print and print marketing. We thought they were a little more similar to Jupiter in terms of the line of business and also the size. But we also chose one out of the advertising and consulting bucket because we felt that it was representative in terms of return on equity similar to what Jupiter was. But we weighted more towards the former category.
So your confidence is pretty high that those are good comps.
Yes.
So did you weight these any differently, the ones that are highlighted versus the overall universe? How does that translate into what you use as 8.6 median number?
So, sorry, just to clarify, and we should have put a little key on there, the green numbers are the ones that we used in for that 8.6 valuation is based on those green highlighted cells.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Great.